Hello and welcome to the Pleasurepreneure podcast. This podcast will help you create what you desire in your business with pleasure, whether that be calling in your ideal clients, making more money, or creating a balanced business life blend. I'm your host, Regan Fig, pleasure and business coach, published author of A Mother's Pleasure, wife and mama to 3 little wildlings. However you're choosing to listen to this podcast, ask yourself, how can I make this more pleasurable? And do just that. I acknowledge the custodians of the land on which this podcast is recorded and produced, the Wadi Wadi people of Dharawal land. Now, let's proceed with pleasure. Okay, welcome to today's episode. Today I have the gorgeous Jillian, Gigi, G. I'm going to refer to you probably by all 3 names in this recording. So I'm not talking about anyone different. We are talking to the divine G, who is an energetic healer and mentor and Reiki master, who with her very both soothing and sassy vibes helps women who have very full lives, have deliciously filled lives and enjoy their life and feel as though Groundhog Day does not need to exist anymore. And G, I'm going to let you tell everybody about the people who you work with and how you help them. But I want to share what I know to be true about you, which is that you are soothing and sassy. And G has been working with me inside this current round of the Pleasurepreneur Mastermind and is already signed up for the next one. So if you're thinking of joining, you're going to have a lot of fun with delicious company. I think I've said delicious about 4 times now.
Very delicious. Oh, wow.
Yeah. You just remind me of something super delicious.
Welcome.
All right. So I would love it if you could share with us, tell us all the things. What's coming, what feels most alive for you today to talk about who you are and who you help, what you do?
Yeah, what feels most alive for me today is that I love the whyest why of my why is that I love to help women who want more, know that there can be more in their life, and that mediocrity and overwhelm and overservice can be a thing of the past, and that they can live their biggest, most audacious life from a place of excitement and desire and no burnout.
Yes. And that's one of the first things that I want to really define, or maybe not so much define, but clarify. When you're talking about like for women who want more, it's like not more on their plate.
No, as in like we've got to a point in our life and we're feeling like there has to be more than this. Not I want to add more things in, but I want the things in my life to be so fulfilling and so exciting that I'm not going, I've just got to get through this. I've just got to get through this then. It's like, oh, wow, I get to do this and then.
Yeah.
That's all the life we deserve.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking, so this is the Pleasurepreneur podcast. I'm thinking there's going to be pleasurepreneurs listening in. They are growing their business. They're navigating business challenges alongside blending business and life and family and work and all of those other challenges. So for those listening, who are listening who do perhaps feel overwhelmed or burnt out or like, is this it? There must be something more. Like, what would you recommend be the starting point for them from here?
Starting point, which was the same starting point that I took, was what does more look like for me? What do I want? Take a step back. And what is it truly that I want? Why do I want that? And get so clear on that definition so that when you have something else dive in around it, you can say, oh, no, thank you. Or yes, please. Because it's either going to be a fuck yes or a fuck no. And I don't have any other room for anything else other than those 2 answers. And if it's a maybe, it's a no.
There is no fuck maybe.
There's no fuck maybe. There's fuck yes and fuck no. You either want to get in bed with them or you don't want to get in bed with them. So what I did was I started dating life. And if something was a fuck, I said, no, thank you. And I found another way to complete. If it was something I had to complete within my life, as in maintaining my life, I found a way to find joy in it and create joy in it. And if it was someone or something, I found a workaround. If it was a job, we looked for another job. If it was a partner, it was a conversation. If it's a friend, it's a conversation. If it's a business or a client, it's a conversation. Because the more we say no to, and the more we prioritize our feeling within our life and our connection to our life, the more it becomes elevated and the more you want to spend time in it and invest in it.
Yeah. And so do you think that, like, from the work that we have done together, from the work we do with our clients, oftentimes it can be really, I want to say, like, simple to work out what it is that you want.
Yeah.
But then we stop ourselves for a number of reasons. But if someone was to feel as though, like, oh, actually, I don't feel like I do have that connection with my body. I don't know if it is a want or if it's a not want, if it's anxiety or if it's a think, like a should that I should have. Like, is there some way that you've helped your clients to work out actually what is a true want for them?
Absolutely. And it comes down to disconnecting from our old noodle brain that is so well connected and not even connected, but so well trained by society to serve beyond and to serve outside and serve first, particularly as women, that we don't even delve into our own intuition. Generally, most women these days have such a scattered relationship with their own intuition. They're questioning it so much that they're like, I don't know what's the difference between my anxiety and my intuition. What's the difference between my worry and my intuition? And the one thing I teach them to start with is, one, to dive into the first thought that they have and start trusting the first thought. Write down the second thought and then see how it plays out. Watch to see how it plays out. And then switch it up. Write down the first thought and dive into the second thought for a period of time and see how that works out. And if you end up switching back to that first intuitive push or the second one, which is usually your noodle. The second thing I do is muscle testing, disconnecting from the head, disconnecting from the thought and connecting with our body and letting our body lead the way and teaching them how to do that. Because that can be a great way to start to trust those first thoughts or the second thought to then have a test that they can't think their way out of.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. And is that something, because I know obviously you work with your clients online, like, is that something that they can be doing, or do you require to be there to help them with that muscle test?
No, that's something that generally you can do as of now. You can Google, how do I learn to muscle test? And you'll have 50,000 YouTube channels pop up teaching you how to do it because it's a connection to you. And it's such an old technique that's traveled through time and space that it's something that is innate to you and innate to your body and that we've always had. And it's just knowing that you have this way of talking to yourself and asking yourself questions. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's online, in person. Sometimes people crave that connection, and I understand that with like personal healing. That can be a really powerful tool. But know that you can also get that connection online.
Yeah. No, I didn't know if you had to touch the people.
No, I don't. I don't have to touch the people.
They can touch themselves.
They can't.
So great. Hey, and you were talking about trusting that first thought.
Yeah.
And I connect with that so deeply. And I feel like, our brains can get in the way of that. But also too, I think people in our lives can get in the way with that. Our partners can get in the way of that. I think even like when I can think of parenting, like chances are I know the way I want to do a certain thing, or I know which, how we want to structure our day, or how we want to, like, I know what I want. And yet I ask my husband for input and he's got a different way. And I think, well, I'll just go with his way. And then I'm like, oh, that didn't turn out the way we wanted.
Yeah.
Like, I should have trusted myself. And so I love how you followed that up with like, well, let's see how it turns out. Let's like take a look at the evidence. Like, let's allow ourselves to have an experiment, to do some trial and error and to see what evidence we get from it. Let's see what works. Let's evaluate why it worked and let's repeat,
Absolutely. And it's about also within that process, which is another step that I take my clients through, is what part of your body are you feeling that pull from? When you get that intuitive thought, that first thought, where was the feeling in your body when you had that thought? And where was the feeling in your body when you had the second thought? Because they'll always be in two different places. And one will always be the space that's going to lead you true. And the more you find and get in tune with where those feelings sit in your body and how you can tap into that space, your intuition will grow. And you'll stop questioning that second thought, and you'll be able to give yourself the space when you ask your husband for his input. How does that make my body feel? How does my body feel about that idea? And could we tweak it, or can we combine two ideas together? Can we be a collaborator on this project?
Yeah.
Because parenting very much is, and living in a partnership very much is. It's not always just going to be one way as the highway. And so, yeah, always investigating and feeling where the feelings are coming from is always so important.
Yeah. And I can imagine for, the women who you help, maybe they don't want to tune in with their feeling because they actually feel a bit frustrated about it, or they feel angry about it because they, underneath it all, they know what they want, but they're kind of ignoring it.
Yeah.
And that's an uncomfortable place to be in.
And also we're taught that feelings are good or bad, that there's a bad feeling or a good feeling. And it's just actually different feedback.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to mean that it's a bad thing. Like being angry isn't bad. Feeling sad isn't bad. Feeling frustrated isn't bad. It's just a feeling that you need to express. And sometimes there's going to be more productive ways to express that emotion. And if you give yourself the space to explore different ways to express those emotions, is magic.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think working with you, like having that opportunity to meet, whether that's sort of once a fortnight or once a week, however often you meet, like how often do we in our lives, unless we have someone like you who is our mentor or a coach, how often would we sit with, say, a friend who, well, first of all, let's find that friend who's like super supportive, super interested in like what we want to achieve in our businesses, for example, who wants to sit there and support us and guide us and give us like an hour of time to express all of that and gain clarity from that and work out aligned action to take from that. How often do we get that in our lives, let alone once a week or once a fortnight?
Yeah.
And I can just imagine the growth that your clients have from when they first come to work with you, and then how much growth can happen within a matter of weeks, let alone months. And so maybe there is a client story or a journey that's coming to mind right now where you can think of where, you've had someone come and work with you and within a matter of like weeks or months, their life has changed so dramatically from the work that you do.
Yeah, there's probably the most recent one, which is one that I've shared to you as my mentor, is one of my clients who came to just one masterclass that I was running. It was sold as a manifesting masterclass and setting up your year for 2024. And she didn't believe that she could do that. The dreams that she had for 2024 were real or possible, but she knew she wanted to have them. And so she attended, we'd had one-on-one healings previously, but she attended this masterclass. And I was like, do you believe that you can do it? She's like, not really. And I was like, you realize that's the key. If you already don't believe that you can do it, you're not going to take the actions that you need to in your life to have the energetic world and the physical world match up so that this dream can come true. Because that's what manifesting is. You can have a thought, but you need to match the thought with action or the feeling with action in order for it to come to fruition. And she was like, oh. And so we went through the muscle testing one-on-one on this class call together. And I showed her how to tap into that, how to test it in real life and to start testing it on the daily. And we tested the way that she was phrasing her goal, or one of her goals for the year. And we tweaked the words. We just changed synonyms, adjectives, in order to change that phrase so that she believed it was possible. So it wasn't, can I become an astronaut? It was, do you believe you can become an astronaut? Do you think it's possible to become an astronaut? And we went testing through all of those phrases, and she found one that really fit. And I said, now hang on to it. Hang on to that and then keep testing it. And then keep testing it and keep changing those phrases as the year progresses so that you continue to resonate or believe that that phrase is correct. And within a few weeks, she'd already met one goal within 8 months, she'd met the second one, which was totally outside of her belief system. She was like, I think this is too lofty. I don't earn enough. I don't need, like, there was so many don'ts in front of it. And now she really believes in the magic to the point where she's like, I want to see how good 2025 can be beyond my wildest. So it's not tangible anymore. She wants audacious. She wants illogical expansion for 2025. And that was probably one of the biggest transformations for this year. To have that woman go from, I don't think I can pay this off, or I can't do this, which was, it wasn't a small goal, but it wasn't intangible. So that was my biggest transformation for 2025. Other than that, the biggest theme for this year is women coming back in touch with the idea that our bodies go through many evolutions in our lifetime. We're teenagers, we're preteens, we're young adults, we're mothers, we're menopausal, we're premenopausal, we're all sorts of parts of our hormonal system play parts in our life. And we're told these stories that once you hit a certain period, it's an expiration date, not an exploration date. And so that's one of the big phrases I've had for this year is, okay, so you've hit this point in your life. Let's explore how you can thrive there, just as you did here. So don't have an expiration date that perimenopause has struck and, oh my gosh, now it's just hot flushes and misery. Or menopause has struck, oh no, now I can no longer have children, or I'm a grandmother now, or this means this or that. Let's just explore how we can thrive in that area. And that's been massive. Like, to have women completely turn their life upside down. She's sold her business. She went overseas for, I think, like 2 months to explore who she wanted to be when she came back, has come back and has gone, this isn't it. Let's dive in deeper because I want to explore who this is.
Yeah.
That was a transformation for this year, rather than just signing the check for I'm dead now. You know, like, we just have to sail to the end of our lives in misery.
Yes, I love that. Like, going against the grain of like cultural narratives.
Yeah.
That was part of what I started my work on when I was helping mothers experience more pleasure. Like, you know, essentialism, like when we decide that, well, when we've been told that the essence of something, the essence of motherhood is mundane and boring and like forever giving.
Yeah.
When we internalize those narratives, that's where our baseline is. That's where we start. And until we question those, we're not going to then find something else if we're just accepting that narrative like unconsciously.
Yeah.
Same goes in business. I think there is such it's so celebrated, isn't it? Where unless you're being to be super productive and a capitalist society and being super busy and like boss babe culture and grind, hustle and grind, that is what it looks like to grow your business, that it just has to be hard and it has to be a struggle. And a lot of what we have explored in the mastermind has been like, well, is that actually something that I want to prescribe to? Is that a narrative that's going to serve me? So
and that's 100% the reason why I signed up, because I was like, I have spent so much time redesigning my life. I don't want to design a business that doesn't align with that. I don't want to be a boss babe. I don't want to, what was that? There was a trend. I want a girl boss too close to the sun. And it's like they're really stressed out now because they've become too successful. I'm like, absolutely not. Unsubscribe. That's not for me. I want to enjoy my life. I want to enjoy my clients. I want to enjoy my business. And when I stop enjoying it, I want to recreate it so I enjoy it again.
yeah.
I want it to evolve with me.
Yeah. And I can imagine anyone who's listening to this who is considering working with me or joining the mastermind feels the same. And is that something that you've created within these last few months of us working together? Like, you've really sunk into that more. You've really started to create more clarity around that. You've really started to create that kind of a lifestyle in your business?
Absolutely. Working with you has untangled the thoughts that I had so connected from childhood and the way I saw my parents run their businesses, was that running business was hard, that making money was hard, that finding and maintaining clients was hard. And you have rewired our brains with your beautiful magic to question those thoughts. I'm like, really? But how could we do it different? How do you want it to look? How could you achieve that? What would it take for those goals to come to life? And that's what I love about this work. You're like, yes, everything exists in polarity. There's going to be good things and bad things. But how can I find joy in those too? Even if it's just the completion of it. That's joy. Let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I was listening to something recently and it was talking about basically if you haven't planned your 2025 by now, life's going to be chaotic. And if you take a break and switch off now and don't finish the year strong, you're never going to get ahead. Like this kind of a vibe. And I was like, you don't have to believe that. So I can imagine a lot of people being like, oh, quick, well, I need to somehow find this time amongst all the school concerts and the award ceremonies and the end of year parties and plus getting Christmas organized and trying to find a holiday time to have with my family.
Yeah.
But I also now have to be planning for the whole of next year. It's like, well, hang on a second. Maybe having a holiday is going to amplify and generate more momentum. Maybe connecting with your pleasure is going to make you more productive. And by the way, that's not a maybe. We know that that's actual fact, right?
Correct.
Productivity follows pleasure. Maybe we can consider what we want to achieve maybe in the first couple of months of next year, but that doesn't mean that the rest of the year is going to be chaos because we haven't planned it all out. Yeah, let's consider do we want to actually subscribe to that?
I know, I think into that expiration culture, oh no, you have to have everything figured out by New Year's Eve. And I'm like, no, tomorrow's a new day. The next minute's the next minute. The next month is the next month. Every day and every minute is a new start.
Yeah.
So choose which minute you want.
Yeah.
If you want this minute or the next minute, that's okay. If you haven't figured out 2025, you're just fine.
Right.
But you want to figure it out. Let's make a plan for it.
Yeah. And so do you feel like that has been one of the most transformative aspects, or is there another really transformative aspect of the mastermind for you, personally or professionally, that you can think of?
Yeah, personally, I think the way that you put it was, it was like the beginning stage of pregnancy. You're there's all this growth happening and you can't see any of it because there's no bump. You're just feeling like trash. And I very much not aligned with that, but I very much resonated with that at some points because a lot of big things did come up through your work and you held such beautiful space for that. And there was no expectation or there was pressure, but no, not you must, oh no, we've had this conversation already, Jillian. We've been over this. You gave such grace to that spiral or to that little whirlpool that you can get stuck in when you're going through a growth phase. That was really valuable to me because you showed me again something that I really wanted in my growth journey, which was that not everything has to be hard and strict and have these really solid edges. You can allow yourself to have that moment and it's okay, but you can also choose to do it differently again next time. Does that make any sense? I know I got stuck in a little whirlpool in the middle where I was like, I feel like I'm not moving anywhere, but I feel like I'm gaining so much in the experience of that. I don't know if I've explained that very articulately, but you gave such grace to growth and that it didn't have to hit immediately. You didn't have to clock the moment immediately and jump timelines automatically, but you held us there and you're like, oh yeah, this is similar too. And so you'd allow me to realize that, yes, we've been around this corner once before. How did you feel when we came out? Let's do that again now. And that was really beautiful for me. And sharing the space with women who also supported you along that journey. It's women are gatherers and we're so much more powerful when we come together. And so to have a mastermind where we're coming together and holding and supporting each other and celebrating and commiserating all at the same time was just so lovely. Yeah. And it always surprises me how you can think so little of yourself or highly of the other people in the group. And then I remember you're actually resonating with that person, Gillian. So you are the same as them, whether they're experiencing things a little bit different. at this point in time, you've still resonated with their journey. So that's something that's possible for you. And that was super lovely too. I really enjoyed seeing the growth of the other people in the group and sharing and celebrating that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so important. And I love that. And like, I think it's coming up for me again to like bring this into the conversation. The idea of like when we are business owners, when we are solopreneurs, you know, maybe we don't have any team members yet. Maybe our peers are around the world and, you know, we don't get to meet in an office every day.
Hmm.
And so it can be really easy to feel alone. It can be really almost like deflating and disappointing to perhaps not have anyone in our life who does want to have those conversations, who can realize the kind of challenges that we move through and appreciate the milestones that we reach and celebrate the little and the big things, you know?
Absolutely. To have someone to celebrate with, like I know recently I shared a celebration with you and you're like, Julie, that's amazing. And I was like, I know. And the ridiculous thing is that I was celebrating someone else's results and that was a result of me celebrating them. And then I still forgot to celebrate me. Hilarious.
Yeah, or like our brain does the thing where it just wants to like we kind of can acknowledge that it's a celebration, but then our brain immediately wants to like discredit or minimize or just say, yeah, but that wasn't good enough because, or yeah, but that's not real because, you know.
Yeah.
And I just think like let's find the optimal angle. You know, let's find the optimal angle of, I don't know, I'm thinking like maybe a client has called in 10 new people to work with in a free experience. And they're saying like, well, I haven't created any clients yet. And I'm like, you just called in 10 people?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, but they're not real because they're not paying. And I'm like, of course they're real. They're real people, you know, like we get to acknowledge that we want something more and what we have already created is worth celebrating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that generates more of the pleasure. It generates more of that sense of accomplishment and also to the mindset shift around like, oh, what I'm doing is working. What I'm doing is working. And like you talked about with the pregnancy analogy, I might even share it. So
yeah,
the pregnancy analogy is basically like when we are perhaps we've made a pivot in our business or we're just, you know, relatively at the start of our business, we're in that growth phase and we're taking action and we're getting support and guidance. And it feels like we're not creating any of those externally validating results yet. Sometimes it is like that first trimester of pregnancy where we can't see the growth. We can't feel any movement. We feel tired and it maybe feels a bit uncomfortable. But that's actually often that is the most profound and important growth. That's like laying the foundations from like the middle of pregnancy. All of the pieces of the baby are together. It's just growth then that happens. But when we're in those kind of first few years of our business, it can really feel like maybe it looks like we're not getting anywhere. And what makes it pleasurable? Like well, let me start this again. What makes us unstoppable, achieving what it is we desire in our business is being able to be with that messy middle bit, being able to be in that uncomfortable part or being able to like fail with pleasure. Like, oh, I didn't achieve it this time. And I'm still going to identify the pleasure pieces. And I'm still going to like weave in joy and gratitude and celebration. It's so powerful.
It really resonated with me. As someone who is only 2 years within this evolution of my business, that really resonated.
Yeah.
And to be able to then integrate that with what I'm doing with my clients as well, I'll have that extra resource of grace to give them in those periods as well. It's, beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. So, G, tell me what is next for you now that you have created such a beautiful foundation of pleasure in business, now that you have started to really grow in such a sustainable way and that you have gained so much momentum from being in the mastermind. What's next? What's next for you now?
I'm so excited for 2025. I have some really big plans that I'm not going to share with you because you already know them. But
what about the listeners?
Oh, what about the listeners? I would love to have a physical space in 2025 where women and community gather and share, and we have more beautiful, magnetic, spiritually led businesses in that space as well, where you can almost be like a one-stop shop for educating yourself, expanding yourself, reevaluating and caring for yourself and creating space creating space for yourself on a regular schedule. And so that the women of the Illawarra, which is where we're based, can really step into their power
That's so needed
in this moment where there's so much change going on in the world. And we can reclaim our rights as putting ourselves first and being valued and valid.
I can't wait to see those desires of yours come to life.
I'm so very excited, and I can feel them so close now. Like we were talking about that this round, and I've always had those feelings that something's, it's within my reach, but now it's almost like I've just got to pick it up off the kitchen bench.
Yeah.
It feels very much like that.
Okay, my love, lastly, talking about the mastermind.
Mm-hmm.
If someone is listening and wondering if this mastermind is for them, what would you say to them?
If you're wondering, then it's already for you.
That's exactly what Kat said.
You're wondering about something, like let this be you testing your intuition and you wondering, is that first thought that your intuition has given you? Don't wonder anymore. Jump into Kat's DMs, jump into my DMs, jump into the beautiful Regan's DMs, and take the plunge. The signing up for round 2, actually even signing up for round 1 was the easiest decision I ever made. The easiest decision because it was my first inclination. I knew when I met Regan, and I knew that the way that she worked and the way that she holds herself so authentically and so consistently in this space of desire, and seeing how she has led her life that way, knew that that's how I wanted to lead my life. I was like, oh, that's heaven. I want to live there. And once you get a taste of Regan's energy, you don't it's intoxicating. So take a bite, take the plunge, sign up, and say yes, dive in.
Yeah. I like how you mentioned take a bite, because this is like come full circle. Talking about deliciousness.
We have. Yeah, take a bite.
Yeah, I think even just for me, like when I'm thinking about investing in my business, and I've invested in my new mentor for next year, and same thing, it's like honoring that desire and knowing that the worst that can happen is that I've chosen to invest in myself. I've chosen to get myself some support. Like I've actually allowed myself to honor what it is that I want. That shit's powerful.
So powerful.
You know?
Follow that breadcrumb, follow that first intuitive thought that's gone, oh, that's interesting. I'd really love to do that.
And I bet then the second thought comes in and says that's your beautiful brain saying oh shit, new unfamiliar territory. And your brain will say, oh no, but I couldn't do that. Or yeah, but because I've got X, Y, and Z going on in my life, blah, blah, blah. Or no, that's not for me. Or fill in the blank. Our brain gives us all these reasons to not, and I'm not just talking about joining the mastermind here either in this instance, but our brain will give us all of these reasons to not go into that unfamiliar territory. But it is the unfamiliar territory where the desires and the goals and the milestones exist. If it wasn't new territory, they wouldn't be goals and milestones and desires. They would be like where we are right now.
And absolutely, I promise you, the more that you start prioritizing your needs and getting support for those needs, it's not actually adding more to your plate. It's actually taking it more off your plate. It's creating more space on your plate so that you can achieve those things that feel big and enormous and too big to handle. It's the Sherpa on the trek. It's the person who's helping you get up to that next step. And never have I looked back at a mentoring program that I've been a part of and gone, oh, well, that was a waste of time. Never. Even if I wasn't there for very long, it's always been of value. Always.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for today.
Thank you.
Before we wrap up, is there anything that you feel like you want to share, or anything we haven't spoken about that you feel like you want to bring into this conversation?
No. I love our chats. I'm just excited to help more women prioritize themselves, their needs, and show them that as soon as they do that, everyone else benefits.
Yeah, that's it. That's a huge one. And acknowledging that, like, whilst we don't have to prioritize ourselves in order to benefit other people, I think it's really important for us to consider the benefits to other people when we do allow ourselves to prioritize ourselves. Like, it's not selfish.
No, and prioritizing yourself isn't deprioritizing someone else.
Yeah.
It's just
Yes.
putting food on your plate too.
So good. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Jillian. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at According to Gigi. You can find me on the internet at accordingtogigi.com. And hopefully soon you can come to my space.
Oh, I know. Wouldn't that be so great? Sign me up. Put me on the VIP list, please. Get me in
Done. You
there.
can help me cut the ribbon.
I'll be on the door.
Be on the door? I'll go.
Thanks so much, gorgeous.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. That wraps up today's episode. But before I sign off, I want to let you know that doors to the next round of the Pleasurepreneur Mastermind are now open. You're listening to this podcast because you know you can have both, the income and the pleasure-filled life you desire, and the mastermind is where that becomes a reality for you. If you've decided 2025 is your year to create multiple four-figure months in your business whilst being able to enjoy your life, like savoring slow mornings, snuggling your babes in bed, spending quality time with your family, or doing things that you enjoy outside of your business as well as in, you're going to love and totally transform yourself and your business inside the mastermind. It's my 5-month group coaching experience where we apply the key Pleasurepreneur principles and strategies that actually move the needle to create multiple four-figure months so that you save your time, your energy, and your presence for where it counts. The mastermind is where you learn how to grow your income, sign more clients, help more people, and create a life that feels outrageously delicious and pleasure-filled for you. It's also the place where you're celebrated, supported, and witnessed by an intimate group of women who get it. You can apply right away by clicking the link in the show notes, or if you're curious and you want to learn more, send me a DM on Instagram and let's have a chat. You can also head to reganfig.com/mastermind or click the link in the show notes. But then I don't get to hear all about you and your business goals and desires for next year, which would be a bummer for me. But you follow what you desire. And if you have any questions, of course, send them my way. We don't begin officially until February, but the sooner you join, the more bonuses you'll get, such as coaching with me this side of the new year. Because it's an intimate group with only a maximum of 8 women inside, be sure to make yourself known to me sooner rather than later as spaces are limited. All right. That's it from me. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye for now.